Okay, good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're listening to this presentation. My name is Neil Giet, and I'm the founding principal of the U School. I'm here to talk to you a little bit today about what makes the U School unique and why you should select it if you think it's a fit for you. So, one of the things that I like to start with is the U School is a competency-based school, so we're performance-based. And so I like to start with a student project because that's the way we move students forward. So I'm going to move with a student project that was the first. This happened in one of our film and photography classes at the U School. All students take film and photography for 2 years in 10th and 11th grade. And so this is a project created then. So
U School is my second home, my family, my safe space, where we don't exclude anyone, accept them as they come, and believe in what they can be. It was my second chance at being successful. I matter, and so do my dreams.
Love.
Dreams.
So we like to use that to kick off these presentations just because, again, it represents the student perspective. It is a project, but it's a student perspective on kind of their own community. So moving forward, the agenda today is to talk about kind of why the U School, what really matters here, some important structures, and move from there. And so I'm the founding principal of the U School, and about 11 years ago, the school district received a large grant from the Carnegie Corporation in New York because after high school, about 80% of our seniors that choose to enroll in post-secondary are not continuing into post-secondary programming. And so there's 10 to 12,000 graduates every year pretty consistently for the last period of time. And of the students that go to post-secondary, about 50% of those are going to post-secondary. A lot of them are not continuing into post-secondary. We believe as a school and as members of the Philadelphia community that it's critical that school helps young people identify who they are, what their strengths and weaknesses are, so that they can ameliorate this number. The goal of post-secondary persistence, and it's not just about four-year school, because the U School is not about four-year school. It's about two-year trade school, workforce, and military if necessary, but it's really the goal of the U School is for students to make a choice. And so let's start with that, which is the name of our school, which represents kind of the uniqueness of the model. You're going to hear a lot of themes about students being involved, and that comes right down to our name. The name of our school was selected by students from across the city, and it's not a name, it's a symbol. It stands for users at the center. So that U in a circle stands for users at the center, and that represents how we do business by putting young people at the center of their learning and how we hope to develop them. High school is the last safe place. And so it's really critical, as evidenced by how our young people across the city that go to a number of different schools are performing after high school, that young people need to be centered in both their learning and their personal development. Our mascot, much like that, this idea of youth at the center, youth selected our school name, youth selected our mascot, and so our mascot's the unicorn. Even though we don't have any of our own sports, we think that this idea of the unicorn kind of being unique, powerful, and fierce, a symbol of being welcome, is an important indicator and like symbol for our school community. So as I talk today, there's two things I'm really going to focus on. We say that there's three things that make our school unique. We have a strong focus on restorative-based youth development, and we're a competency-based school. Personalized programs a little bit different. We could talk about that when you start to think about joining our community more, but these first two are really what distinguish us from other schools across the city. And so the idea of restorative-based youth development is about, we care about developing youth, right? And so that means, again, as I alluded to before, and you're going to hear me echo, high school is the last safe place. Once you go to college, once you go in a career, there's not people stopping and asking you how you're doing, developing plans with you, really sitting with you, working with you small on an individual or small group level, helping you figure out what's going wrong. And so it's really important that young people learn how to exercise voice and choice, because school doesn't, if they don't learn how to do it here, they don't learn how to do it afterwards until the consequences of failure in college or any post-secondary opportunity, a job, is generally getting kicked out, failure, loss of a job. And so we believe that young people really need to learn how to express the voice and choice and earn that responsibility in the community. And part of being restorative is also treating kids as if they're adults. We do not have discipline at the youth school. We have consequences. So you see that highlighted here. Consequences, not discipline. There's not detention. We don't suspend unnecessarily. If a student causes an issue at the classroom level, they have to fix it at the classroom level. If a student causes a problem at the school level, they have to fix it at the school level. And so we support students in doing that. And so again, I'm gonna dig into that a little bit more in a second, but much like selecting the school name, picking our mascot, we also don't select our advisors for students. We think that the choice of who you're going to be connected to 4 years. At the youth school, we have a 4-year looping advisory program where a student selects an advisor and a group of students, and they're with them for 4 years. So we build this school environment where there's a school parenting. And if you talk to any student at the youth school and you ask them what we call advisory possibilities, and students call it posse for short. So they talk about their posse leader as a school parent. When we have student-led conferences, caregivers speak with the posse leader and the student leads the conference. And so this idea of selection and students at the center, again, it's threaded through everything we do here. And ninth graders or any new student that enrolls in the school, if they start in 11th grade, they also select their advisor. And that's like the most critical personal kind of development system in our model. We have since the beginning of our school for 10 years used restorative practices as core beliefs. And so we have implemented the restorative questions for 10 years. And so again, we believe if students cause harm at the classroom level with disruption, lateness, disrespect, etc., they get an infraction and they handle that on the classroom level. If they do things like fighting, engage in fighting, or for example, we have to handle it on the school level. And so we don't have a lot of fighting in our school because the consequences are real. We always have, like right now, we had a 9th grade fight in the fall. We always have them as 9th graders figure it out. But this Friday, we have the culminating consequence of students engaging in fighting. So students' consequences are, if you choose to fight, you have to complete a restorative action plan, engage in a restorative conference that's to fix the actual harm you caused, inform your parents of that after that happens, conduct what's called a peace project to bring an equal amount of peace in the community that you brought violence. And then I convene the whole school in the auditorium and students engage in what's called a public acknowledgement to share what they did, what they did to fix it, what they've learned from the situation, and what the community should expect from them moving forward. So when I say that we believe in restorative justice and building community, like we really do. And so, we don't have a lot of those because we haven't had a lot of fighting, but we have had, a student accidentally discharge a fire extinguisher and have to address the whole school because they made the whole school unsafe. So restorative and natural consequences are really important to our school. The next thing that's really critical is that we are a performance-based school. So that means there are 5 things that make up most students' grades in the United States of America: classwork and participation, homework, quizzes, tests, and other. Other is usually projects, papers, and labs. And so at the U School, classwork, homework, quizzes, and tests happen, but they're not graded as they are in other schools. 100% of your grade are the performances. Like we tell students all the time, I'm performing for everybody right now. You're recording my performance. I have a visual, I'm speaking. We could assess my ability to perform right now. You don't know how many times I've practiced this. This could be my first time or my 1,000th time, but you do know that I'm being judged right now in this moment. And so much like we talk about Beyonce, I probably would pay money to see Beyonce practice, but we pay money Beyonce for concerts and albums. We pay LeBron James money for basketball games. When our teachers have an amazing day at school, the students are like, yo, how much time did you spend on this lesson? The reality is that young people aren't prepared for the world because practice and the value of practice has more importance than performance and grading. And so we focus on performance and exclusively performance because we think that matters. And so we have this little image here. It's like practice is this space where you learn to fail, and the performance is the time when you get up and you're ready to go and you feel ready to go. And so our community has recently, our students and one of our counselors has made a nice video that succinctly kind of captures what it means to be a competency-based school. So I'm going to take a few minutes to play this video because I think it captures it in 2 minutes better than I can.
Here at the U School, we provide a competency-based education that prioritizes consistency and transparency in your education. This means that instead of just giving you random assignments throughout the year, we start with the goal of getting you to master a set of competencies that will help you build the successful life that you want. In other schools, assignments and tasks can feel disjointed and inconsistent across teachers, classrooms, and grades. Here, every part of your education revolves around the same goal and the same competencies from beginning to end. We have main areas, and many will sound familiar, such as English language arts, math, science. Each area has several competencies within them that are made up of small skills. From the beginning of your education here, you will know what is being expected of you and what is the intention of all your schoolwork. After classroom lessons, you will be provided skill opportunities to show evidence of how well you have learned particular skills. At the U School, we center our skill opportunities around performance-based assignments, such as written essays, media projects, or oral presentations, not just simple tests or busy work. We want you to learn how to perform in real-world situations and applications, not just on paper. You can find skill opportunities all throughout the school, with chances to find competency areas being used in different classes. Sometimes English language arts skills can be found in history class, and history skills can be found in science class. At the end of each year, you will fill your grade level portfolio with your best work. A completed portfolio allows you to move on to the next grade. The same competencies you find at the beginning of your education here remain for your whole time at the U School. Every year you progress, you will be challenged to perform at a higher and higher level, demonstrating how much you have grown. To make your education transparent, you will always have access to your grading rubrics for all your skills. You will be able to see what is expected of you and where you stand on your performance level now and where you want to be in the future.
Next slide. So to drive that home, at the U School, competencies are the foundation of all learning in all classes. And just to highlight this writing arguments is a competency, and underneath it is a skill, introducing a claim. Everything we do to tell students is not a focus necessarily on A, B, C, D. We translate the performance to that, but it's to have every young person know their strengths and weaknesses. Young people are not competing against other students in their classes, but competing against themselves. If I'm starting at a level 4 as a 9th grader, it clearly means I'm behind in my skills, but that doesn't mean I have to be failing, right? And so if I'm starting at level 4, how am I growing? So we don't have points-based grading, we have performance-based grading. And what we want students to know is that the indicator language in these rubrics represent a certain level. When you independently are performing at level 10, you are ready for post-secondary individually. When you're performing at level 12, you are performing at a post-secondary level. And so for us, it's about young people knowing their strengths and weaknesses so that when they leave high school, they have the knowledge of what they can do in order to compete with whatever pathway they choose to endeavor on. And so our pathway to graduation, our whole model is pretty unique in the sense that we're the only high school in the state of Pennsylvania that has a 1-year CTE program. And so we squeeze high school really tightly into the first 3 years so that we can give 12th graders an experience that's much more like being in community college, or in trade school, where they can have time where they're engaged in internship-based learning, hands-on learning, off-site, internally. And so to do that, we have a very tough first 3 years so that students can join AFNR. And AFNR stands for Agriculture, Food Science, and Natural Resource Management. It's a very unique CTE pathway that has a lot of umbrella opportunities, including like classes with the University of Pittsburgh. Some of our students are also doing dual enrollment at CCP as well. But so there's a lot of opportunity, but the goal is we're trying to get to a place where students, before they go out into the world, can have a kind of a learning and like hands-on learning experience that mimics something that exists in the world. What we tell students all the time is the U School is unique and inclusive to everybody, as you've heard through this presentation. And so like moving from a more traditional school-based model to a performance-based one does require a leap of faith and does require students have a lot of opportunity to design their own future. And so students that are willing to challenge themselves and open to that are super successful here. We don't have a ton of homework, but there's some decent amount of reading daily. We're very reading and writing heavy. And so students that that open up to that are very successful. We develop all kinds of students in here, and all kinds of students have been super successful at the U School, but students struggling to ask for help, really scared to do that performance task, like, really scared to share a poem or to give a presentation. That leads to challenges. As I said, we're restorative. And so students that are struggling to take responsibility for their action, we haven't really seen students say, no, I'm not going to do that. But those are the places where students struggle. And then young people who really need deep harassment to get learning done. Again, at the U School, we do not have a dress code. We have a dress code, not a uniform. We sell U School shirts, U School gear of all different colors. We do not have our own sports teams because we're in an old elementary school. We play all of our sports with Kensington. So many of our students are on those teams, as leaders of those teams. We have clubs in the school day and after school, and students can lead and start them. And so I've sent out to every counselor in the city a student flyer, and these flyers highlight two things. Number one, our shadow days, which are lined up and begin next Wednesday. We have 4 Wednesdays consecutively where students can sign up for shadow days. We have an in-person open house scheduled and 2 virtual open houses scheduled. And then we have a series of documents for students, caregivers, families, anybody else interested to dig into. And on the back side is our kind of general flyer of that. And so the document's 2 pages. If any counselor, anybody across the city, I can send it out again if they need it. But this has already been sent to everybody in the city. And in terms of what I like to close, because we started with a student video and then I will wrap it up. This is one of our alumni just graduated from NYU as a filmmaker, and took another alumni and is starting a series of alumni shorts and current student shorts about kind of how the U School impacted them. And so I would like to take a second to play it.
Love, dream, do. Coming back here and walking through these hallways 5 years later really means a lot to me. These hallways hold so many memories. These classrooms were like an extension of us and who we were. I remember sitting in the auditorium and hearing Giat talk, and it's like he spoke life into me in my dreams. The little girl that thought there was no other options felt seen, and literally in that moment, I decided to recreate myself. I think that what makes us so different is that you get to dip your feet in so many different things. I created a nonprofit and I got the opportunity to travel to Columbia. I ended up going to Harvard and not having to pay anything because of the community that this school gave me. And if it weren't for this school, I don't think I would have ever found it. My name is Arhalise Manaya Bravo, and I am a poet, a writer, an activist, and a proud alum of the U School.
Okay. I'm sorry again. Let me skip it. So that concludes the U School's presentation. In this slideshow that we've gone over, all educators in the city, I'll just quickly demonstrate with the video. When you go to the flyer, and this is for any family, student, or parent that's looking at this, there's a series of links below The whole slideshow we just went over is the school visit slideshow, and this is the one we use with families when we go to schools, when our students go talk to schools. It's the one I just used with you. So at the end of that slideshow, there's other artifacts that we don't have time to share. There's obviously also overviews of what competency-based learning is, use school tools to understand kind of how we grade and learn a little bit more. And again, a link to that video. So I want to thank everybody for their time and interest in the U School, and can't wait to meet you and answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.